Hello and welcome to EngliLearn. Today we're looking at the annotation process for Paper 1, Question 2. As you already know, in this question you will be given one text to read and you need to write your commentary or analysis essay based on that text. Annotation is a big word that essentially means making notes on the text, identifying any interesting word choice or language features the author used. As we already mentioned before, examiners don't grade your annotations. However, this is a really important step in the process of analyzing a text, and it will help you do your best in writing your commentary. Before we head on to a sample text analysis, we need to understand some key principles in order to avoid common mistakes in the annotation process. First of all, before you even start reading the text, you need to know what you're looking for. Otherwise, you will waste valuable time focusing on irrelevant things. I can never stress enough how important it is not to waste time in this exam, so make sure you're focusing on the right things in your reading process. What are those things? What are you looking for in a text? First of all, you're trying to identify what I call the big three. Those are audience, purpose, and tone. Audience is who the text is intended for. Purpose is why the author wrote the text, and tone is the writer's attitude towards the topic he's writing about. In addition to this, you need to correctly identify the genre. Remember why? We spoke about this in one of our previous videos. Every genre has its own rules, and knowing these rules helps you focus on the important things in the text. The good news is that genre or text type is almost always clearly spelled out for you in the task itself. So what genres can you expect to see in this question? It can be anything ranging from memoirs, autobiographies, diaries, blogs, articles, reviews, speeches, letters, and a wide variety of descriptive and narrative texts. You can never know what you're going to get, so make sure to be familiar with the basic characteristics of all of these genres. Another major aspect of the text you need to focus on is the form and structure. How does the author lay out his text? Is there some form of development or progression from, for example, a melancholic tone in the beginning towards a more hopeful tone at the end? Or is there perhaps a major turning point at some point in the text, where the author changes the topic or the focus of the text? Is there a contrast between two sections of the text? You need to be able to identify these and comment on them. Some aspects of structure and form are also conditioned by the genre, so that's another thing to pay attention to. The aspects of text that we spoke about so far are, so to speak, higher order language features. By that, I mean to say that they're more related to the text as a whole rather than individual words and phrases in the text. Sometimes students focus so much on individual language devices that they forget about these big issues, which is a big mistake. So I mentioned them first to make sure you always remember them. Examiners expect you to constantly link individual words, phrases, and language devices the author used with the text as a whole, with its structure, audience, purpose, and tone. This is why it's really important to constantly keep this in focus as you go through the text. Of course, structure, tone, and purpose are created through the use of individual words and phrases, so when we move down from the whole text level to individual words and phrase level, there are other features you need to be looking for. These include figurative language and word choice. Figurative language includes all kinds of figures of speech, such as similes, metaphors, imagery, onomatopoeia, personification, and so on. Word choice can include different parts of speech and phrases with strong positive or negative connotations. Here, it's important to mention that you need to be able to precisely and correctly identify all kinds of grammatical features. These include different parts of speech, types of phrases, and types of sentence structures as well. Individual words, even as small as conjunctions, can sometimes have a major impact on the development of a text. So you need to be able to precisely identify them using the correct linguistic terminology. Finally, if the text has the purpose to persuade, you need to be able to identify and comment on a wide variety of different persuasive techniques. Before we move on, I have a question for you. Which of the text features I mentioned seems the most difficult for you to identify and comment on? Is there something you find difficult and can't understand? Let me know in the comments below and I'll try to reply and help you. Now let's move on. Knowing what to focus on is important. However, merely identifying language features and quoting the words from the text won't get you far in terms of your grade. On this level, you're expected to do a much more in-depth analysis of the text. To do this, you need to use what is called the PEE approach. Yes, I chose that abbreviation on purpose. I hope some toilet humor will help you remember it better. PEE stands for point, example, effect. P stands for point. What language device did the author use? As we already mentioned, you need to precisely and correctly identify the language devices used. E is example. For every important language device you identify, you need to mention a specific quote from the text. Here, it's important to note that you should avoid using long quotes. Please don't quote entire sentences. Precision is really important in this exam, so when choosing what to quote, always try to focus on 1 or 2, maximum 4 words at a time. I promise this is always a better approach. Finally, E stands for effect. That means, and this is an absolutely crucial step in the process, you need to explain why the author used those precise words. What effects did he want his words to have on the reader? How did he want to make the reader feel, or what did he want to make the reader do? Here, it's also extremely important to be very precise and explain in as much detail as possible what exact emotions the author was trying to incite. Also, in this part, it's very important to focus on connecting the effects of the individual words and phrases with the purpose, tone, audience, and structure of the entire text. Now that you've understood the process of annotation and what information you need to include in your commentary, we can move on to a sample text annotation. That will be the topic of our next video, so be sure to subscribe. If you have friends or classmates who you think might be interested in these videos as well, share and let them know. If you're a teacher, feel free to contact me and let me know how I can support you further. Happy exam season, everyone!